You have, unemployment, 9.9%. And then when you really talk to people who know anything about unemployment, say, well, figures lie and liars figure. The actual rate is closer to 20%. But wait a minute, if you're a person of color, the actual rate is 40%. Or young people, it's 40%. Sounds like a depression to me, but we don't use that word, the D word. That's been banished. Instead, we talk about recovery. And we know that you can't destroy the entire manufacturing base of a country. You can't destroy industries and expect jobs to suddenly mysteriously appear to put these people back to work. It's not going to happen. It can't happen. Our economy was re-engineered, people, from an economy that was about making things and selling them to an economy that was about buying things. Newport Mall has its own train station right up the road here. Okay? Consumption replaced production. And now Wall Street went from maybe 30% of the economy to close to 65% of it. And it's about making money from money. It's not about making jobs or investing in industry. It's about betting on the market, not putting money into the market. And so what we've come up with here is a situation that is a disaster with so many subcomponents to it. And it has to do with corporate power. It has to do with people who have arrogated to themselves power. In this newspaper, I read you a little article, Washington. Securities and Exchange Commission officials are calling it the strictest regulatory reform since the Great Depression. CEOs of major financial institutions will now be required to humbly shrug and smile sheepishly before accepting new salary bonuses. This is from America's finest news source, The Onion. But they have their finger on a pulse. Because what's happening when we see these bonuses and these compensation schemes, and we hear these stories of people who are barely getting by, struggling to get by. 600 teachers, 6,000 teachers, I forget the figure, in New York City about to be laid off. And across the country, all of these cutbacks all the time. So that people just shrug, well, what do you expect? There's not enough labor to do. But it's not true for everybody. So we have this situation of incredibly increasing inequality in our country, where the top 1% has gone from 37% of what I call the returns to wealth to nearly 70%, which kind of makes us almost like a banana republic. And we're not paying attention to it because we think power is in politics only. And it is in politics. But the people in politics, are working in an environment that is essentially manipulated and managed and controlled by people who are not in politics. On the healthcare debate, there were 8 lobbyists for every member of Congress funded by the insurance companies. In the financial reform area, there were 25 lobbyists per member of Congress. No wonder yesterday an amendment which wasn't even debated or discussed was voted on an amendment to break up big banks and to scale them back to a manageable size was defeated 66 to 33, I think the number was. No discussion. It was just a preemptory move to kind of get this off the table because one of the senators supporting it, Senator Kaufman from Delaware, which is where all of our corporations are registered, basically boiled the whole financial crisis down to one word. I don't know if you heard about his speech. Fraud. Fraud. He's saying that what we're talking about here is not just a business issue, but a criminal issue. And this is the view of Bill Black. I don't know if you saw him on Bill Moyer's, former bank regulator, who helped put 1,000 bankers in jail after the S&L crisis. And he talks about fraud, basically by the people at the top of these companies that basically loot their own companies through compensation schemes, through bonuses, and the like, and through engaging in speculative enterprise with the money, just to inflate the value of the company so it can then be sold. So we have all these games going on that are called like pump and dump operations. This is, the Goldman Sachs story in part. And the rest of us in this country are just tuned out to it. Can't make sense of it. Makes no sense. Can't follow it. Me go, me go, me go, we go. And we don't have a movement challenging any of this, by and large, because it's beyond us in some level. This is why I wrote a book called Plunder, talking about our economic calamity. It came out in 2008, a week before Lehman Brothers collapsed, and I was sort of dismissed as an alarmist, a doom and gloomer. I didn't know anything. All right, you went to the London School of Economics, but so what? So did a lot of other people. Why are you bothering me? Didn't your apartment go up in value? End of discussion. Okay? Now I've made a film called Plunder, the Crime of Our Time, which is about a dissection of financial fraud and how the crisis has to be seen as a crime story. And the reason I'm raising this here is because I believe from an organizer's perspective, and I come out of the civil rights movement, yes, Sarah Palin, I was a community organizer, and proud of it. I think we have to find ways of resonating with ordinary people and how they're, so that we can bring these other issues, like the issue, this horrendous Supreme Court decision to people. And when you talk to ordinary people, they feel ripped off. They've lost their jobs. They've lost their homes. They're losing their retirement. Say, well, consumer spending is up. Right, it's up because people are in their savings. And that's going to run out soon, and their benefits are going to run out soon. And we are not speaking to their concerns. We're not resonating with them because our narrative is too up here. It's too complicated. It's not reaching the people because we're not speaking to the issues that they feel, not necessarily what they talk about. We're sidetracked into a debate about things that are really not moving the masses of people, unfortunately. And that's why I'm arguing, basically, we've got to put these issues together into some kind of campaign for economic justice so that people have the right to speak, and also know what they're speaking about. Have some information. We have to educate people, not just about attitude. System is bad, click, system is bad, da-da-da-da. But we have to give them specifics and show them what actually happened. Because our media today, and I say this as somebody who worked for ABC, worked for CNN, worked in radio, worked in television, worked in local news and cable news. It's a sham. It is shambolic, in a sense. Because it claims to be news and information. When you really look at it, that's not what it is. Sarah Palin's dress costs so much, and so what? That's what we're hearing about. And that's why I've come out today, because I'm really, really heartened by the fact that Move On wants to move on the corporate power, corporate control issue, and wants to embrace all of this in addition to its political strategy of supporting, progressive candidates or challenging non-progressive candidates and the like. We have a job to do.